Thanks for tuning in to the So Many Roads podcast. In my last episode, I wandered through London on a self-guided walking tour, tracing the echoes of the Grateful Dead's brief but meaningful history in this city. But that was just the prelude. This time, I'm headed to the main event, Bobby Weir and the Wolf Bros at the legendary Royal Albert Hall. I'd been looking forward to this concert for months. That afternoon was brutally hot for London, and after walking all over the city for days, I gave myself permission to take a nap. And of course, I overslept. I'd set up a pre-show interview with Peter Williams, the longtime torchbearer of the UK Deadhead scene, and I didn't want to blow it. So instead of walking, I decided to rent one of those electric bikes. Sounds simple, right? Except every bike I tried either didn't work or was already reserved. I was sweating, frustrated, and not totally sure I'd make it on time. But eventually, I found one that worked and zipped through Hyde Park, weaving through sunbathers, joggers, other bikers, you name it. When I got to the hall, I was a little surprised. There wasn't much of a scene. But if you looked closely, you could start to pick out the Deadheads. People in tie-dyes here and there, finding some shade for a pre-show picnic or hang. They were scattered amongst the tourists, locals out for a stroll, and the skateboarders practicing tricks by the monument just across the street. But as showtime got closer, the energy shifted. You started to see more Deadheads wandering around the outside of the hall. And of course, in true Dead fashion, there were people trying to get rid of tickets. I had one miracle myself. An extra ticket I'd pretty much given up on handing off. I figured I'd just enjoy the extra elbow room. But just before I headed inside, a young man with his finger in the air walked right by me. I gave him a nod, handed him the ticket. It was one of those small moments that makes everything feel connected. Speaking of connections, I never did find Peter Williams before the show. So as I walked into the hall, I messaged him and said, "If set break works, I'll be there." Inside, the Royal Albert Hall was just breathtaking, elegant and historic, and somehow still welcoming, even packed with slightly rowdy, smiling Deadheads. As I found my seat, I ended up talking with Kieran, the young man from Toronto I'd miracled. We didn't really know what to expect from the show. How would an orchestra work with our beloved Dead tunes? Well, it didn't take long to find out. Before Bobby and the band even came out, the orchestra opened with an original piece, something new but clearly inspired by the Grateful Dead. It had these very subtle teases woven in, like little musical winks for those paying close attention. We knew we were in for something special. Then Bobby and the Wolf Bros came out and they kicked off with a classic, Truckin'. It was mesmerizing to hear how the orchestra wrapped itself around that familiar groove. They didn't overpower it, they wove into it. You could feel everyone sit up just a little bit straighter. Truckin' was followed by a haunting Black Peter, a song that worked beautifully with the strings. And then came the moment that made us all turn and look at each other with raised eyebrows, the unmistakable opening of China Cat Sunflower. It crept in slowly, and then, when the orchestra kicked in with that unmistakable riff, we all grinned like kids. that point on, we kept noticing little accents from the orchestra tucked into the corners of the mix. Horns, percussion, even delicate woodwind runs that gave these familiar songs entirely new dimensions. I Know You Rider finished strong as the crowd started to loosen up. The first set closed with a stunning broke-down palace, but I'll save that one for the end of this episode. As Karen and I were still talking about how incredible that first set was, I glanced at my phone and saw a message from Peter Williams, the legendary UK Deadhead I'd been hoping to find before the show. Turns out he was outside, waiting to meet up.
Yeah, Anthem of the Sun was the first album I heard of theirs in 1968. And that was in Muswell Hill. And, man, we had a few tunes at the time, but when that came along, it blew me to shreds. I'd not heard anything like it. And Alligator, it still rings in my head. I still play the vinyl version of it, both versions, When you're born into that, it stays with you. It's something you can't shake off.
And Peter, how old were you when this was? You were experiencing this vinyl.
I was 17 when I first heard them. In fact, I was just 18. My birthday was October. I heard them around about November. So I was just 18. And my first show, I was 19.
This was in
and this
London?
Was in Newcastle under Lyme, which is in the Midlands. It was the
Europe
Hollywood
72?
Music Festival. And the Dead played during the day. You can find a lot of it online. The black and white film they rescued, because I spoke to Phil Lesh about that concert.
That's amazing.
And it was at his Terrapin studio.
Okay.
And we got on talking about hepatitis to start with, because I'd had hep.
Okay.
And we jumped into, he actually gave me a hug, because at the time I wasn't cured and I was waiting to see what was going to happen, because
that's beautiful.
I'd had a cure and it didn't work. And I said to him, listen, man, you're going to see me again. I'm coming back. I'm going to be back here. And in a little over a year, I was back in front of his stage at Terrapin.
Hell yeah.
And I was like waving, and he was looking at me thinking, who is that guy? Do I know him? And he came off the stage and he recognized me. And I said, Phil, I told you I'd be back, man. And I'm cured. Oh, wow, Peter.
You remembered your name.
He did at that point. Yeah, he did. And I've got it on my phone.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. I did tell him, Peter, but he did remember me. He did definitely.
Phil was a really smart guy. So,
once we got into talking about it.
That's amazing.
And then I said to him, talking about Newcastle, and he said, that's one of my favorite shows. The reason he was so into that show was it was their first visit here, and he wanted it to be just really good, just the best, like let people see what we can really do.
Yeah.
And I was having a joke with him about Owsley. I said, look, man, he was giving out all that acid, and he was giving it to everyone, and he spiked all those drinks.
At the 72 shows?
The 70 show.
Okay.
1970.
70.
He spiked the film crew's drinks.
That's kind of like the Playboy, the Playboy footage.
Yeah, it's what Owsley did. he spiked their drinks. And so they were, there's film of them laying on their back, cameras in hand, unable to do anything. And I said to him, now in this year, it seems a shame that we don't have the document of the BBC filming you guys in color. And sure, he said, yeah, but we had a lot of fun. And that was it, you know.
And so did you you continued every time they came to the UK? I assume you went and saw them. So were you at all the 72 shows, 74?
I didn't see all of them, but I saw a good few.
And 81,
80,
Rainbow Theatre,
all of them.
Ali Pali.
Ali Pali, we saw the 3 shows, my wife and I.
You have any highlights from any of that? I mean, I toured the Lyceum Theatre this morning. That's a beautiful place.
What's that?
I toured the Lyceum Theatre this morning.
Right,
because I really wanted to see where that Morning Dew was recorded. Right. So that was a very cool experience for me. So any highlights from those moments?
Yeah, it's the memory's foggy.
Yeah, of course.
But what I can say is the wall of sound blew me to pieces.
That was 74 at Ali
74 at Ali Pali,
Alexandra Palace, for those of you guys who don't know.
Yeah, when we saw
Northern
that,
London.
it was incredible. I will say, Alzi did a great thing there, but in a hall like Ali Pali, it was in the wrong place.
Yeah.
The sound was lost in the Great Hall.
The pictures I've seen, it didn't look that big. It's misleading. It's the height.
It's long. It's not wide. It's long and high. Yeah. And what they did, they put a sheet over the. They suspended a big canvas across between the two sides, between the two walls, to try and reflect the sound. It worked to an extent, but really, unless you were in the middle and kind of about a third of the way back and halfway back, then it was like, wow. You've never heard anything like it, you know. But our first night, we were on one of the wings, and it wasn't great. You know. But yeah, but so, the 81 shows.
Yeah, Rainbow Theatre. I went.
I recorded some of those.
Yeah, I went there the other day as well, just to see it. I know it's a church now, but
it is. Yeah.
I didn't realize how many amazing players played there. Bob Marley, all that kind of stuff.
The Rainbow.
Look who we got here.
And this is Nick.
Danger.
This is my man. They call him Danger.
Danger.
Yeah. And Peter is the living, breathing heart of the United Kingdom. Grateful Deadhead.
So that's why I'm interviewing him.
He is.
Everybody in London told me I got to go talk to Peter.
He's the linchpin. He's the absolute linchpin. It's a shame, but he is. He's generations coming down.
Yeah.
He's a little bit older than me. But my daughter comes here, and my daughter's friend come here as well. And we've got like just generational fucking thing of listening to the Grateful Dead. It's wonderful. Man. But it's.
I was so impressed last night because you guys put together a Dead cover band for a pre-show called the Grateful Dudes, who you're heavily involved with, Peter. You make their posters.
Yeah.
And I was really impressed with the scene. It was welcoming. It was fun. People danced their asses off. And man, that band is pretty good.
I told you they were fucking good.
They're hot. They're hot.
Really, really. I would rather see them than Dark Star. I'll be honest with you. I think the Grateful Dead, and we've been seeing them since they started.
I have to say, the excitement they produce is beyond. And every time you see them, it's powerful. It's powerful. It's not mellow. It's not laid back. It's powerful. But they do it with everything.
Oh, they're nice people.
Even the gentle songs become powerful.
I got to be honest with you.
Gentility.
I was exhausted this morning.
Yeah.
What version of the other one?
Oh,
how good was that?
Yeah.
You missed the week before.
Yeah.
The week before were the Sugary.
We did a Sugary, man.
Hippies, where are you going?
Yeah.
So Peter, tell me again, because you seem to be, keeping the fire alive in London. I found you guys through the UK Facebook group, which is, I think, a great community. I find that
we've got a few.
I think that's really nice. And so
the UK Deadheads.
Yeah.
And Grateful Dead Books is my pal in Georgia, in Decatur. That was a big page at one time. We had a massive page, hundreds of thousands of members, massive, really, really big. But But
Yeah, I think you were
Facebook-
telling me about that last night. Yeah.
Facebook knocked us. It got a bit political.
So social media has really helped the London scene stay alive.
Social media is great for this. It's great. You put your poster up, everybody sees it, and they know what's happening, and they share it around, and people, and let's get down there. Let's go and do some of that, And we're keeping the scene going. We're keeping the music of the Grateful Dead alive here. We're not allowing it to just fizzle out.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
Not going to happen. So we're on set break. I just heard the call to get back to our seats. We're at the Royal Albert Hall for Bob Weir, Wolf Brothers, with the orchestra. First set was amazing. I love the flutes in China Rider. That was really fun.
I thoroughly enjoyed the opening classical piece.
Oh, yeah, just the orchestra on its own.
Yeah.
So what's it mean to you to see Bobby back?
Sorry.
What does it mean for you to see Bobby back in London?
Oh, it's just to see him here is magic. People have come from all over the country to see him tonight. From Scotland. There's a few of my friends here from Scotland, from Wales, from Ireland, from Denmark, Germany.
Yeah, I met some people from Portugal last night.
Yeah. People are coming
Amsterdam.
All the Deadheads are going to be here.
All right, guys. Enjoy the second set.
Okay.
Thank you, Peter, man.
Take
Peter,
care, man.
you're the best. Thank you, buddy.
Real good.
Peace. I got back to my seat just in time for the second set. I turned to my concert mate and said, I'm really hoping for a Terrapin station. Well, lucky for me, I got my wish. Second song of the set, Terrapin. And it was everything I could have hoped for. What happened next completely surprised me. The Wolf Bros left the stage, the lights dimmed, and it was just Bobby, alone under a spotlight with the orchestra behind him. He wasn't even playing guitar, just standing there, singing Days Between. After that, it really began to feel like a Dead show. Maybe it was the set list, maybe the drinks kicked in, but the vibe shifted. When Bobby launched into Jack Straw, nobody stayed seated. People were up, dancing in the aisles. There was an electric energy as Hell in a Bucket brought the house down. And to close it all out, in true Bobby fashion, the Wolf Bros closed the show without an orchestra, launching into a full-throttled One More Saturday Night. As the lights came up and we made our way out of the hall, there was this shared feeling in the air. Everyone knew it had been a special night. As we walked out together, I reminded Karen, the young man I'd miracled, that he still owed me an interview. He laughed and said, "Fair enough." After saying a few goodbyes in the lobby, we decided to take a chance. The crowd had mostly cleared out, and we slipped back inside the Royal Albert Hall looking for a quiet corner to film in. We found a tucked-away hallway and hit record. Okay, we're just sneaking in the halls of the Royal Albert Hall, but this is my boy. Introduce yourself.
Hello, my name's Kieran Higgins. I'm from Canada, Hamilton, Ontario.
And he got miracled tonight. You were the only one I saw with your finger in the air tonight.
Yeah, I figured I wouldn't see many, like there wasn't a shakedown or anything, so yeah,
So
but it was awesome.
What are you doing in London?
I've been traveling for the last 6 months or so, and this is my last stop before returning to Canada. So it's just a very happy coincidence.
It was a pleasure sitting next to you. It was a great show. So talk to me a little bit about how you got into the Grateful Dead, being up in the Toronto area.
Well, I grew up in a very musical family. Both my parents were very into, there's music always playing at the house. Very into psychedelic rock when I was a kid. And then it was actually, I got into like Joni Mitchell and CSNY. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of my entry point into the Dead. Once I heard American Beauty, it just hit that kind of folk vibe that
Crosby was on that album singing backup, right? I believe.
They helped the Dead learn how to do harmonizing right. And doubling the vocals.
Right. So yeah. So he might not have been on the album. I don't know, but
he wasn't on the album. But right. at that time when they were recording American Beauty, I believe they were also, Crosby was recording his first solo album that has the Dead all over it and maybe Airplane.
Maybe that's the thing I'm thinking.
Yeah. Cool. And Jefferson Airplane were also recording.
So yeah, you seem to have a lot of knowledge about the Grateful Dead, and that's kind of where I'm at with this podcast. Is I'm trying to learn more. So tell me a little about those Hamilton, Ontario shows, your hometown, because I don't know much about them.
Yeah, I mean, so I grew up in a town just outside of Hamilton, and it seems to have, I think because we're close to the border with the States, and because of these Hamilton shows in 1990 and 1992, there's like a lot of Deadheads that I grew up around. My uncle, my first boss, my babysitter. It was always around me.
Do you think that's because there were shows in the town?
Partly, yeah. Because, spring 1990, very highly regarded tour, and definitely March 22nd at Hamilton is regarded as top notch.
Yeah, that's like the third time you've told me about that date. Yeah. I got to go. I'm gonna go check that out in my hotel room right now.
Yeah, it's
and maybe being close to Buffalo too. Some killer shows in Buffalo. Also in '90, I believe, right?
Yep.
Rich Stadium, and then my favorite show of all time, The Day After Cornell. Was in Buffalo, 5/9/77. That's my favorite show. So yeah, you're close to a lot of good stuff up there, and so there probably was a decent contingency of people that caught on to the Grateful Dead. Mm-hmm. And then you were also telling me that you did some research in graduate school on like the Beat generation, and that's something I want to get into in this podcast a little bit later, maybe a few episodes down the line. The Grateful Dead sort of being on the cusp of the Beats and the hippies, and that whole transition. So tell me a little about your research. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, it was kind of, I wanted to do a paper on something related to the cultural history of the Beat movement and how how the Dead kind of carried that on. And so I traced a line going back to Oswald Spengler, who was a philosopher of history, who wrote this book called The Decline of the West. And in it, he proposes this cyclical theory of history where civilizations rise and fall, and as they fall, there are these figures on the outskirts of the cities called the fellaheen, which are kind of like marginal nomadic figures, ahistorical, he calls them. They're not involved in history. But as civilization declines, these marginal figures, start to become figures of renewal. And so a lot of the early beat poets, Burroughs, Kerouac, Ginsberg, they all read Spengler a lot. And they took this idea, they thought that America was in decline. And so they started to look to the marginal in American society. That's why all the early beat stuff is focused on prostitutes, heroin addicts,
it's
jazz
depressive.
musicians. Yeah. And so in the scholarship, there's this they call it like the focus on beat as beat down. So focus on the beat down. But then Cassidy comes into Kerouac's life, and the way that Kerouac writes about Cassidy in his journals is he describes him as the west wind, as something new, and there's a shift in the beat movement from beat as beat down to beat as beatific. It's almost like a religious experience. And that's what you get in Dharma Bums and On the Road.
Yeah, it's really interesting because when you watch footage of Neil Cassidy, he really is like a wind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there's like a lot of talk of, Joseph Campbell, who wrote like about the hero's journey. He went to the Dead in the 80s, and what he talked about is like, these children are doing the dance of life. They're doing the dance of Dionysus. And this idea of a kind of bacchanalia, like a Dionysian breakdown of order, that's what you get with the Dead, with the acid tests. Like everything, it's all about breaking down structures, opening your mind and whatnot. And the way that you see Phil Lesh talk about it in his book, and Bill Kreutzmann talk about it in his book as well, like, I think what Phil says is that he envisioned the Dead as at the arrow tip of cultural evolution. And so it's the same idea going back to Spengler of like, they're trying to find something to renew.
A little bit on the outskirts.
Yes.
Or a lot bit on the outskirts.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
That's really interesting because I just did actually published an episode today, and it's going to be, a few weeks back when I published this, but I talked about Phil Lesh's book and how it impacted me in terms of kind of some of the things you were saying there, and how you can kind of connect to that spiritual cosmic flow where the music's playing the band instead of the band playing the music. And there's something very sort of ritualistic about that, and a little bit deviant in a way, as you're saying, a little bit on the outskirts. That's not normal life. No. To lose control like that.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really interesting. So you have a degree in history. Is that
it's
humanities, so that you were studying that kind of stuff. So that's really neat. All right, tell me real quick before we get out of here. We're going to get kicked out of the Royal Albert Hall. We're getting stared down. What's your favorite Dead song? Let's just throw that out there. You only get to pick one.
I'll say Box of Rain.
Box of Rain.
Finding hope in a hopeless situation.
Okay, beautiful, man. Hey, thanks so much. Great sharing the show with you.
Thank you very much for the ticket.
You got it.
It was a pleasure sitting next to you.
Thanks, man.
This whole trip started with a love for the Grateful Dead, intertwined with a love for travel and history. But along the way, it became something more. It became about the people I met, the stories, the unexpected moments that make a journey feel meaningful. From the Grateful Dudes pre-show in Brixton to the beauty of the Royal Albert Hall, what I found wasn't just music, it was community. So to close out this episode, here's that final song from the first set. This is Broke Down Palace, live from the Royal Albert Hall. Thanks for joining me on the So Many Roads podcast. I'm your host, Pete Booley. Dave Steinman is our show's technical director. Theme music by Sawyer Booley. Original artwork by Ashley Hodson. You can find us on YouTube, Meta, at our website, somanyroadspodcast.buzzsprout.com. If you have a unique story or perspective to share, feel free to make a comment on any platform or hit me up at somanyroadspodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for listening. Until next time, let's keep the journey going.